We're delving into the futuristic concept that has captured our imagination for decades. Flying cars, is it dumb or smart? First things first, let's dive into the practicality of flying cars. We've all seen the jaw-dropping concept art and CGI renderings of futuristic cities with cars zipping through the skies. But does this mean we'll be trading in our ground-based vehicles for aerial alternatives anytime soon? Not so fast. First, let's discuss the practicality of flying cars. When it comes to travel, we can divide distances into three categories: short range 0 to 50 kilometers, mid-range 50 to 500 kilometers, and long-range 500 plus kilometers. Unfortunately, flying cars don't make much sense for either short or long-range travel. For short distances, you're better off walking, cycling, using public transit, or simply driving. For long-range travel, trains, planes, and automobiles offer more efficient alternatives. Flying cars may be suitable for mid-range distances, but even then, their usefulness is limited. You could also use cars and train for mid-range. You'll need to ensure there's a proper landing area at your destination, and you can forget about flying in bad weather or at night. Plus, the lightweight, foldable design of flying cars makes them vulnerable to damage, so a minor fender bender in the parking lot could leave you grounded for weeks. Moreover, flying cars aren't particularly fast. With top speeds generally ranging from 160 to 200 kilometers per hour, they are only slightly faster than highway speeds, which pale compared to high-speed rail and are vastly inferior to airplanes. This further limits their practical use. There were 6 million car crashes in the US in 2022 alone. Now imagine that with flying cars. Can you imagine discovering a dent in your flying car's flap after a trip to the grocery store and thinking, it's probably fine, only to find out mid-flight that it's anything but fine? To mitigate these risks, flying cars must be banned over human settlements, strategically important infrastructure, and environmentally sensitive areas. This would essentially confine flying cars to specific corridors, requiring extensive coordination and the construction of large airstrips for takeoff and landing. This concept may sound familiar. That's because it's strikingly similar to our existing transportation infrastructure of highways, train tracks, and airports. Cities would need to invest in new infrastructure to accommodate flying cars. Here are some of the things a city would do for flying cars to work. Landing pads. Flying cars would require designated areas for taking off and landing. These landing pads would need to be strategically located throughout the city to provide easy access for users, and they might need to be built on rooftops, parking lots, or other available spaces. This could lead to conflicts over land use and zoning regulations, as well as concerns about the structural integrity of buildings and potential damage to existing structures. Charging stations. Flying cars, particularly electric ones, would need a network of charging stations to ensure their continued operation. This would require additional investments in electrical infrastructure, including high-capacity power lines, transformers, and charging equipment. Depending on the energy source and charging technology used, this could strain the existing power grid and require further upgrades. Air traffic control systems. To safely manage the increased traffic in urban airspace, cities would need to develop and implement advanced air traffic control systems. These systems would need to be capable of tracking and coordinating the movements of numerous flying vehicles simultaneously, while also integrating with existing ground-based traffic management systems. This would require significant investment in new technology, personnel training, and regulatory oversight. On top of these practical and safety concerns, flying cars also pose a threat to our mental health. Even if they were only as loud as regular cars, the constant background buzzing of flying cars at an altitude of 2 to 3 kilometers would be inescapable, especially in quieter rural areas. This never-ending noise pollution could have a significant impact on our overall well-being. Finally, we must consider the skill required to operate a flying car. Piloting an aerial vehicle is no easy task, and the widespread adoption of flying cars would necessitate extensive training and licensing for potential drivers. This could create an entirely new set of hurdles for people to overcome before they can even think about getting behind the controls. So, while flying cars may seem like a tantalizing vision of the future, they are ultimately an inefficient and problematic mode of transportation. As much as we'd love to live out our superhero fantasies, it's time to face the facts. Flying cars, for the most part, simply don't make sense. But hey, we can still dream. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and consider supporting.